After 30 years, a shocking revelation emerged. My daughter-in-law's hidden motive exposed. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when Lucy first felt the familiar pulse of dread. Leaves danced around her feet as she walked into her kitchen, the aroma of pumpkin spice wrapping her in warmth. But that warmth faltered when an email notification interrupted her calm. The subject line screamed of revelations that promised to unravel the life she meticulously built. As she opened the email, a scan of an old letter from her late husband flashed across the screen. The words hinted at a hidden inheritance for Mark, but all Lucy felt was a tumultuous mix of excitement and dread. For nearly 3 decades, her family was rooted in trust, but now, those foundations quaked beneath a newfound suspicion. The implications of the letter rattled loose the memories of eavesdropped conversations and Jenna's cloying curiosity about family finances. Did love color her daughters-in-law's intentions? Or was it simply a calculation of wealth? Lucy's fingers trembled as anxiety clawed at her, twisting her stomach. A part of her questioned if the affection she perceived was merely a mask for ambition. What if Jenna wasn't the supportive figure she believed her to be, but rather a manipulative force, eager to exploit? As these thoughts festered, the mood in her home became thicker, laden with unspoken unease. Lucy recoiled at the notion of distrust, always priding herself on the values she instilled in Mark. Yet every insecure thought triggered another. What if Mark was merely a pawn in Jenna's game? A deep-seated fear invaded her heart, whispering cruel thoughts of betrayal. The love she felt for her son clashed violently with this creeping doubt. Before she could ponder further, Lucy recalled the warmth of family dinners, laughter echoing off the walls, and Mark's baby pictures tucked lovingly around the house. Was this all just a facade? Memories turned into daydreams of what-if scenarios, each one darker than the last. She grasped a faint glimmer. What if she confronted them? But a wave of apprehension washed over her. How could she question the very people she dedicated her life to support? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A sense of urgency gripped Lucy, compelling her towards a call to action. A confrontation at their family dinner. She would sift through the tension, ignite a dialogue that revealed Jenna's motives. As she envisioned the dinner table a sanctuary turned battlefield, her heart raced. Would her discoveries unite them through truth or shred their bond to pieces? She felt a painful clenching in her chest, urging her to choose her words wisely. The stakes were higher than ever. Lucy took a deep breath, summoning the courage buried under layers of maternal love and fierce protectiveness. But what if all she unearthed was a rift wider than she could fathom? The thought twisted her stomach, and as thoughts spiraled, the image of her beloved son caught in the middle sharpened the stakes to unbearable heights. Silence enveloped her, drowning her fears in the cacophony of internal conflict. As she glanced at the family photos decorating the walls, Lucy understood. The words spoken at dinner would act as daggers or shields. It was time to unveil the truth. But would love manage to survive the onslaught of ambition and suspicion? The dinner had an uneasy air, a cocktail of anticipation and dread swirling among the candles flickering on the table. Lucy meticulously arranged the plates, each one a fragile representation of the family she had nurtured for decades. As she laid down the utensils, she felt an irrational hope surge, whispering to her that perhaps tonight, everything could return to normal. But the gnawing tension nestled in her chest was louder, a constant reminder of the deception she now feared. Mark arrived first, his infectious smile initially dispersing her anxiety. But she noted the subtle shift in his demeanor as he sensed the charged atmosphere. He looked to her, the question clear in his eyes. "Everything okay, Mom?" The warmth in his voice momentarily disarmed her. Could she muster the strength to confront the thought that her son might be unknowingly ensnared in a web of deceit? "Just some family discussions tonight," she managed, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask. The moment Jenna stepped through the door, however, the facade shattered. Her daughter-in-law brought an air of breathless enthusiasm, blissfully unaware of the storm swirling beneath the surface. "Luke, dinner smells amazing. You always know how to put together a feast," Jenna said brightly, her tone harmonizing with the festive clinking of dishes. Lucy's pulse quickened. Jenna's charm felt like a skilled actor's performance, each gesture calculated. The plaster smile did little to comfort her as she fought against the rising tide of suspicion. As they settled around the table, the conversation danced along safe topics: holiday plans, their recent trips, and Mark's job progress. Yet, beneath the surface of laughter and polite inquiry, Lucy felt herself being drawn further into a deepening chasm of mistrust. With each harmless exchange, she weighed the words against the implications of the letter. Would Jenna's intentions sink like a stone or float effortlessly? "Lucy, do you remember the last time we went skiing?" Mark asked, breaking through her fog of doubt. She nodded, momentarily lost in the warmth of that memory. A fleeting island of peace amidst mounting fears. But the euphoria quickly dulled as images of Jenna lurking behind the scenes crept back in. How could she maintain this blissful exterior while her instincts screamed a stark warning? The moment to act was now, or risk eternal repulsion from the unearthed truth looming in her throat. Taking a deep breath, Lucy pivoted the conversation. "Jenna, it's been a while since we had an in-depth talk about family matters, right?" The light tone barely concealed the urgency beneath. She watched Mark's brow furrow slightly, confusion marring his otherwise easygoing demeanor. Jenna's smile faltered, a flicker of something unreadable crossing her face. "Sure, what do you mean?" she asked, tilting her head like a hawk sensing a shift in the wind. The assertiveness in her voice was all too calculated, as if she was bracing for a confrontation. Lucy's heart raced. This was no longer just a conversation. It felt like a lit fuse, ready to spark a discussion that would change their lives forever. But the fear of unraveling everything gnawed at her. What if the truth fractured their bonds irreparably? "I found something recently," Lucy said, her voice steady despite the unease coursing through her. She paused, feeling the weight of all three of them, a family tangled in love and potential betrayal. Something about an inheritance. The air crackled with tension as Jenna's expression shifted. Lucy held her breath as she prepared to unveil all that had been concealed. What she didn't know was that Jenna held secrets of her own secrets that would inevitably collide with Lucy's revelations, setting the stage for a confrontation neither anticipated. Lucy felt the weight of Jenna's gaze upon her. A palpable tension tightening in the dimly lit room, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The space between them shrank, the familiar comfort of familial ties now tangled with suspicion and unresolved truths. "An inheritance?" Jenna echoed, her voice a mix of disbelief and a hint of anxiety. The way her eyes shone with both curiosity and fear signaled to Lucy that she struck a nerve. "What do you mean? Has something happened?" "Let us not pretend anymore, Jenna," Lucy said, her voice gaining volume as a newfound strength surged within her. "You know perfectly well what I'm talking about. The letter I received implicates you. Some financial affairs that affect our family might have been handled in a way that considers you more than just family." Mark shifted uncomfortably, the fork he had been holding now resting forgotten on the table. "Mom, what letter?" he asked, the alarm in his voice blending confusion with concern. The conflict within him deepened, setting the stage for an unwelcome revelation. "I thought you should all be aware," Lucy said, choosing her words deliberately. "I couldn't let this slide any longer." She drew a steadying breath, consolidating her resolve against the perturbation inside her. Jenna's expression flickered, morphing from surprise to a blank facade, and then finally to a calculated smile. "Lucy, you must be mistaken. I would never stop." Lucy's voice cut through Jenna's denials like a knife, sharp and unyielding. "I've seen the letter, Jenna. I know you've been discussing these matters with your father in secret. I'm tired of walking on eggshells while you manipulate the situation to your advantage. This is more than just a misunderstanding, it's betrayal." "What betrayal?" Jenna's calm was unnerving. "You think you know everything because of one letter? You're making accusations without any proof." Suddenly, Lucy felt a tidal wave of fear intermingling with her fury. It was a moment of vulnerability, a crossroads that could either revive dormant family ties or irreparably break them. The dinner, once intended as a reconciliation, transformed into a battleground, challenging Lucy's resolve. Realizing her growing agitation, she reined in her thoughts, concentrating on the essence of the conflict. The need for clarity, the craving for sincerity. "I just want to protect our family," she said quietly, the fierceness yielding to a more genuine plea. "I want to ensure that no one is taking advantage of Mark and me." Mark sat silent, absorbing the fracture that had developed over seconds but felt like years. "What's really going on here, Mom? If there's something more, I need to know." As Lucy prepared to divulge the shocking specifics of the letter, her mind raced through the possibilities, the pathways of her next steps. Yet the unexpected tremor in Jenna's eyes made Lucy pause, suspicion colliding with empathy. What drove Jenna to maintain such a facade? In that moment, Lucy recognized a stark truth. Tonight wasn't just about confronting Jenna. It was her opportunity to confront her own fears, rewrite the narrative of their familial history, and defend her worth. But just as she opened her mouth to reveal the key details, an unsettling sound pierced through the burden of their conversation. The vibrating buzz of a phone. Jenna's phone lay under the table, face up and illuminated, displaying a message that made Lucy's heart skip. It was from Jenna's father. Lucy swallowed hard, her instincts screaming that they were on the cusp of unraveling not just Jenna's motives, but the entire scheme she had unknowingly stumbled into. "Jenna, don't," Lucy implored quietly, sensing the delicate balance between revelation and ruin. "You have to come clean. What's your father involved in?" The air thickened with unspoken tension as Jenna's mouth opened and closed several times, her next words teetering on the edge of revelation and denial. The impending storm had arrived, but which side would prevail when it crashed? The buzzing of Jenna's phone only prolonged the silence, a taut string threatening to snap. Lucy could see the shift in Jenna's demeanor as uncertainty flickered across her face, the mask of composure beginning to crumble. Mock bravado battled with fear, and in that vulnerable moment, Lucy recognized not just a guilty sister, but a woman trapped in a web of her own making. "Maybe you should just admit it," Lucy pressed, emboldened by her desire for truth. Her voice now steadied, color surged in her cheeks, a flush of determination ignited by the opaque layers that had suffocated too long. "What's really going on?" "Admit what exactly?" Jenna retorted defensively, but the tremor in her voice was undeniable. "That I'm somehow sabotaging this family? That I'm plotting some clandestine scheme for an inheritance that doesn't belong to me?" The incredulity tinged with frustration was palpable. "Stop dodging," Lucy responded, her pulse quickening as her nerves hardened into resolve. "I've seen enough to know there's more at play. The letter pointed to your involvement, a breadcrumb trail leading right back to you. Don't act innocent. What are you hiding?" Mark remained silent, glancing between his mother and Jenna, absorbing the tension as if it were some kind of fog creeping across a battlefield. Lucy could almost feel the shift in the air, the potential for either destruction or the rebuilding of their trust resting precariously on the edge of Jenna's next words. "Fine." Jenna's voice dropped to a whisper, as if admitting some deep transgression to the night. Yet in the echo of her confession lingered the scent of deceit. "I didn't want to hurt either of you. I was trying to protect something." "Protect what?" Lucy demanded, her heart racing in anticipation of the truth. "This is our family we're talking about, not some asset to secure for yourself." "There are things you don't understand," Jenna replied, her gaze drifting toward the table. "Your father and mine made decisions that affected all of us, decisions filled with secrets and lies. I was just trying to navigate a world that favors cunning over honesty." Lucy felt the sting of profound frustration erupt within her. This was no longer just a confrontation. It was a test of her strength, her willpower. Here, in the heat of confrontation, she recognized a profound truth about herself. The roots of her hesitance were not just tied to her family's affairs, but her own desperate need for validation, for clarity. If Jenna had been manipulating facts, hadn't Lucy held herself captive to the same patterns for years? Feelings of betrayal morphed into an opportunity for personal growth, a chance to remove the veil she had wrapped around her own insecurities. "Then stop hiding behind your father. Stop playing this game," Lucy urged, voice rising once more. "You need to confront him, Jenna. P.S. Your father a man you seek resigning from the very situation that binds us. Mark finally opened his mouth, the weight of disbelief shifting back to the surface. You can't keep protecting him, Mom. It's time to choose a side. Was it our family or his secrets? The clarity in Mark's words created another portal of pain, a visceral understanding of the divisions they allowed to fester. Lucy glanced at her son, recognizing the intersection of their shared fears and desires. Would they stand united against the shadows of their past or succumb to the bitterness that threatened to fracture them forever? Jenna's eyes flickered with vulnerability, revealing the concealed layers of a woman caught in her father's betrayals. Could she find the courage to bring light onto these shadows with Lucy's encouragement? To remove the disgrace that had encircled their lives for too long? The air thickened even more, pressing against the trio like the heaviness of an impending storm. So what's next? Lucy's heart raced, an unsettling anticipation sparking within her. Jenna's gaze fell to her phone, the glowing message still waiting. We talk. I'll expose everything. But you need to promise that when this dust settles, we don't walk away from each other. Lucy felt the weight of that promise, the shimmering hope of familial restoration mingling with the gnawing dread of potential betrayal. She was on the precipice of a deeper understanding not just of her family's legacy, but of her own capacity to rise beyond it. As her father's text burned in the silence around them, Lucy realized the next steps would necessitate trust, bravery, and the affirmation of family bonds. The night beat on, each moment swelling with the promise of revelations yet to unfold. There would be no turning back now. But even as Lucy fixed her resolve, something gnawed at her. What if the true danger lay not just with Jenna, but within a family tapestry woven with hidden agendas? The darkness reverberated back to her, the shadows of the past beckoning for resolution, and she knew deep down the true battle was just beginning. Jenna's silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the distant hum of traffic outside. Lucy felt the weight of her sister's unspoken thoughts pressing against her, a tension filled with both fear and a glimmer of hope. What might this conversation, this imminent digging into their family's past, uncover? Mark shifted uncomfortably, his gaze now fixed on Lucy. Are you ready for this? His question was laden with concern and echo of her own anxiety, but it also hinted at something deeper. The family didn't just stand at the edge of an emotional abyss. They were poised to confront the influences that had shaped them for decades. What choice do we have? Lucy replied, forcing her voice to stay steady despite the tremor of her insides. She needed to push through this discomfort. With every dialogue, she found herself confronting parts of herself she had avoided for too long. Her fear of confrontation, her desire for acceptance, and her growing realization that she had often compromised her own values to keep the peace. Jenna finally broke her stony silence, her eyes narrowing as she looked at Lucy. If we're going to do this, if I'm going to make this revelation, I need to know I can trust you. Lucy regarded her sister, recognizing the gravity of the request. Trust goes both ways, Jenna. What happens next? Will you step into the light, or retreat back into shadows? In that moment, Jenna looked more vulnerable than ever, stripped of her defenses. Yet the possibility of vulnerability cut both ways. Lucy could feel her own valor ebbing and flowing like the tide, pulled by Jenna's willingness to engage in truth. Was she prepared to grasp her own potential? Jenna took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. I'm tired of living in fear of the unknown, fear of father's secrets, of what might happen next. Maybe it's time I started to own my part in this mess. The determination rippled beneath her words. The familial dynamics had created a protective cloak around Jenna. In lifting it, she risked exposing not only herself but inadvertently Lucy and Mark as well. But the risk was also an opportunity. It could lead to liberation from burdens they had carried for too long. Lucy's mind raced with implications. And you think doing this publicly will somehow make this go away? She countered, feeling a flicker of doubt. She could see the potential for disarray emerging from Jenna's revelation. A path that might lead to destruction rather than resolution. Not just say it out loud, Jenna countered defiantly, but also create a plan. One that includes us all. This can't just be about my guilt or my father's manipulation. We need to come together and craft a new narrative. Something that binds us. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, slicing through the intensity of the conversation like a sharp knife. Its persistent invitation to engage brought with it a clamor of anxiety. Jenna paused, hesitation clouding her expression, but Lucy saw it for what it was. A moment to evaluate old habits and new intentions. "Who is it?" Lucy demanded, an urgency in her voice. "It's him," Jenna replied, throwing a glance at the screen. "I can't keep avoiding this. I need to respond." The fear radiating from Jenna was palpable, and it ignited something within Lucy. It was as if a furnace had been lit in her chest. What if this wasn't just the revelation of Jenna's motives? What if it transformed into an opportunity for Lucy to confront her own buried truths? "Respond," Lucy commanded, her authority surprising even herself. The urge to protect her sister, to steer this ship through the storm, ignited a new fire within her, one that proclaimed she had the right to her own narrative. Jenna hesitated ever so slightly before her thumb hovered over the screen. "Are you sure? What if this is what we wanted?" The reckoning to choose honesty over avoidance, Lucy urged, her heart thrumming with ambition for the change they desperately sought. In that moment, Jenna pressed send. The weight of unspoken words fell away, cascading into a churning sea of potential fallout, but opening the door to renewed strength. What had initially felt like a labyrinth now seemed like a bridge to unknown territories, the possibility of healing, of redemption, of a newfound purpose that extended beyond Amanda's failings or their father's secrets. But with every release there was also a price to be paid, and Lucy couldn't help but wonder about the ghosts they inadvertently stirred. Would they welcome clarity, or would it lead to insurmountable betrayal? As the notification heralding Jenna's decision glowed ominously before them, Lucy felt a dawning realization what lay beyond that moment would test them all. Little did she know, the sparks of conflict had also ignited one profound reckoning. And the next chapter of their lives was about to unfold in ways they could never predict. The tides of change were rolling in, and the storm was far from over. Lucy's heart raced as her eyes flicked between Jenna's phone and her sister's face, eager for clarity, yet bracing for turmoil. The message sent, a sense of urgency mixed with adrenaline surged through her, testing her resolve. This was no longer just an opportunity for Jenna. This was Lucy's moment too. With every beat of her heart, she felt the distance from her previous self, the timid girl who looped within her comfort zone, avoiding conflict like a plague. "Now what?" Mark's voice broke the charged silence, inadvertently shifting the focus, illuminating Jenna's hesitation and Lucy's new sense of purpose. "We plan," Lucy declared, her voice gaining strength. "We map out how we'll deal with this together." "Together?" Jenna echoed, yet her tone held a hint of uncertainty. They would have to confront the uncharted territory ahead, the secrets they were about to unleash and the histories woven into their lives. Jenna's revelation could alienate or catalyze their relationships, but Lucy felt the weight of her sister's dependency shift in her favor. It was exhilarating, terrifying, a double-edged sword. So, entering this vulnerable space, Lucy leaned into vulnerability herself. "Let us write down everything we think we know, the past, our fears, our expectations. What do we want? What does healing look like?" She could feel the gravity of her words, challenging not only Jenna but herself. Jenna nodded, a flicker of determination crossing her face. "What if it doesn't lead to healing? What if it just exposes more fractures?" "We unearth truths, Jenna. We confront them." Lucy's confidence felt like armor. Reassessing her life through this lens of courage, she pushed back against the shadows of fear that had often stifled her growth. "What if we fail?" Mark interjected, the pessimism rooted in love mingling with protective instincts. Lucy sensed the walls rising, but resolved to counter them. "Then we learn." Sometimes failure is a more honest teacher than success. The conviction in her voice surprised her, morphing doubt into determination. She was formulating a new narrative, one where failure didn't equate to her identity, but was merely a stepping stone towards understanding her familial dynamics. As they scribbled ideas and fears across a shared notepad, Lucy began to see commonalities in their experiences, an intricate tapestry of emotions knitted together by shared trauma. The more they wrote, the clearer her path became. She could feel the boundaries softening, laying trails for empathy and connection. Each revelation resonated like music, weaving together insecurities with a burgeoning clarity. With each word, Lucy also discovered latent strengths: her capacity to navigate discomfort, to cultivate resilience. She started viewing herself as a facilitator in this process, someone capable of holding space for her family's truths rather than being overrun by the tumult. The telephone buzzed again, breaking the moment. Jenna's hands trembled as she peered at the screen, processing the uncertainty that was flooding her mind. But instead of retreating, Lucy leaned closer, supporting her sister with silent encouragement. Embrace what's coming. You're not alone. The time had come to confront more than just the past. They were on the precipice of shifting their future. Could they metabolize the weight of hidden secrets into something constructive? The room held a charged promise of collaboration, though the stakes felt exponentially high. This is where we begin our own stories, Lucy encouraged, her tone firm yet filled with love. As Jenna pressed her thumb against her phone again, contemplating who to engage next in this unfolding saga. A fresh wave of uncertainty loomed. What if the truth disrupted the fragile harmony they were rebuilding? And as they faced a future full of unanswered questions, Lucy found herself entwined with renewed purpose, no longer the passive observer of her life but an active architect. Life demanded action, and in this pivotal moment, Lucy resolved to steer their ship through the storm. The choice to embrace the vulnerability of honesty would shape their collective narrative moving forward. However, with the decision rolling out, another question loomed like a storm cloud. Who else would be affected by this wave of revelations? What hidden truths would surface that could reshape their identities forever? The tangible weight of possibility hung in the air, ushering them towards uncertain shores. The atmosphere in the room was thick with unspoken fears as Jenna's finger hovered over the screen. Each second felt like a pulse in the air, vibrating with potential. Lucy's mind raced alongside her sister's hesitation. She could sense the weight of uncharted waters beyond that click, the act of reaching out transforming both their narratives irrevocably. Who should I message first? Jenna's question hung hesitantly, almost as if she could sense the ominous shift in their familial fabric. Start with someone you trust, Lucy suggested, embodying an unwavering calm beneath her own chaos. She was beginning to appreciate the delicacy of vulnerability. Let us ground ourselves in support before diving too deep into the storm. Jenna's brow furrowed, revealing doubt. Trust. What does that really mean now? How can I trust anyone in the wreckage of secrets? A quiver underlined her sister's words, igniting a spark of determination within Lucy. This was not merely about messaging. It was about rewriting a narrative built on fear of exposure, distrust, and isolation. She needed to pave a way for her sister to reclaim her voice. Trust is a step, Jenna. It builds with each transparent moment, she replied, her tone steadier than she felt. As Jenna composed her thoughts into a text, Lucy seized the moment to delve further into her own awakening. It was as if every challenge brought forth an underlying strength she had long overlooked. She began to question her role within the family unit more deeply. No longer just a sister portraying support, but a key player in actively shaping their journey out of confusion. The notion ignited something electric in her. Mark's skepticism lingered in the air. His protective instincts were palpable, like an undercurrent threatening to pull them both back into doubt. What if someone can't handle what they hear? What if they collapse under the pressure? His voice, though earnest, pressed against Lucy's newfound resolve. We face it together. We prepare for those reactions, mitigate the fallout, Lucy countered, surprisingly pragmatic. What we're starting here, this is about liberation. We can't control how others respond, but we can dictate our journey. Just as Jenna hit send, a heavy silence prevailed. Every breath felt like a countdown to the inevitable outcome. It was her first real act of defiance against fear. Lucy felt her sister's vulnerability intertwining with her own, morphing into a collective courage. They were edging closer to a pivotal transformation, and Lucy was starting to see the contours of her own development as a leader. Let us sit for a moment, Lucy suggested, finally feeling her own heart begin to steady. They needed to reflect on the shift that had just occurred within their shared momentum. With purpose coursing through her veins, she gathered her thoughts. With every step I take today, I can feel the chains of what held me back start to break. It's not just about family anymore, it's about claiming my story too. Jenna looked at her with wide eyes, the confusion softening just a little around the edges. What do you mean? I mean we're here. Two sisters choosing to trust together as we step into a world filled with uncertainty. This reclaims my narrative, one that empowers me. I don't have to be defined by past fears. Lucy's voice took on a rhythm that resonated with clarity, amplifying her determination with each word. Mark shifted, leaning closer. Her insight shattered the veneer of his protective worry. Could he see it too? That by confronting their truth, they were simultaneously discovering their strength. Then the invocation of messages sent created another layer of tension, a palpable shift of energy, and a gate now flung wide open. Who would respond? What hidden motivations would swell from the depths of relationships they thought they understood? The uncertainty loomed, a heavy cloud ready to burst at any moment. And in that moment of collective anticipation, they understood they were on the brink not just of revelations about their past, but possibly of deeper truths that could define not only their current circumstances, but the very fabric of their future as a family. With breaths held tightly, Lucy's heart swelled with a mix of dread and excitement. The moment felt electric, as if the ground beneath them had altered irrevocably. What lay ahead could reshape their identities, drawing out everything buried beneath the surface. She opened her mouth to speak but paused, aware of the storm rolling ahead. Would they be ready for the aftermath? As the reality of untold secrets began to unfurl, they were left hanging at the edge of their decisions, teetering on the cusp of an unfolding saga. And just as she was about to suggest a course of action, another message chimed in. The first response could unravel the careful foundations they were attempting to establish. Lucy's palms tingled, caught between anticipation and regret. How would their world change when the truth surfaced? The silence in the room shattered with the chiming of Jenna's phone. Each note pierced through the tension, reverberating with unsteady trajectories. They all leaned in, a collective urgency binding them as Jenna read the message aloud. Hey, I'm here if you want to talk. No judgment. Her voice trembled slightly, revealing layers of relief and apprehension fused together. Lucy felt a tightening in her chest. Words fashioned by uncertainty drifted in her mind. This was a tentative lifeline. Yet the shadows of unspoken truths loomed larger. That's a good start, she said, trying to mask the swirl of doubt. But she wondered, would such an innocuous response lead to deeper truths? Or would it be just another avoidance of the core issue? The answer lay buried beneath their family's history, and the thought left her restless. Do you trust her? Mark's voice broke the spell, underlined with concern. His protective instincts flared in response to the exposure their secrets might entail, igniting a deep-seated need to shield everything they believed they understood. Trust is built through honesty, Lucy countered, surprised by the force in her words. If we don't face these secrets, we'll suffocate in them. A flicker of her previous hesitation gave way to steel determination. Perhaps she was beginning to embody the leader she had envisioned. They wouldn't move forward unless they confronted the underlying currents that defined them as both sisters and individuals. Jenna's fingers quivered over her phone, hovering over the keys as she waited for reassurances to crystallize before her. What if she doesn't get it? What if we get hurt instead? The vulnerability rattling in Jenna's voice wasn't unfounded, it echoed Lucy's own fears. Look at us, Jenna. We're already brave for even considering this. Every chance we take breaks apart another brick in these walls we've built up. Trust yourself. Start by being honest. Each word spilled from Lucy with a clarity she had not known she possessed until now, a touchstone to guide her sister and herself through the vulnerability of choosing to open up to the world. Painful though it might be, a long moment stretched as Jenna weighed the words, searching for grounding. But the stillness dissolved suddenly, an impulsive flicker of resolve sparking within her as she boldly typed back, "Let us meet tonight. I need to talk." The instant she pressed send, the air in the room shifted again. There was no turning back, only the exhilarating rush of confronting what lay ahead. Lucy felt an almost palpable jolt of energy pulse through her, igniting something deep within. It was more than support, this was a declaration of intent, a conscious choice to reclaim their narrative. "I didn't know you had that in you," Mark said, a look of surprise and admiration on his face. The subtle acknowledgement kindled something bright in Lucy, a mixture of pride and renewed purpose. We're discovering sides of ourselves, all of us, she replied, her gaze lingering on Jenna's face, which was now set with an unyielding determination. This is about our truth, about stepping into our power. Yet as adrenaline surged through her, she couldn't shake off the weight of what lay ahead. What truth awaited them during that meeting? Would they unearth empowering revelations? Or would they bring old scars into painful light? The questions gnawed at her, creating a tension that hung like fog in the atmosphere. I need to think, Jenna said, resting her head against the wall, her expression lost in contemplation. The resolve steadfast in her voice met a wavering tide of fear. She was on the precipice of something transformative. As the moments dwindled, Lucy felt the convergence of anticipation and guilt, a complicated web binding her to her sister, and all that was unspoken. What shadows would their truths cast into their future dynamics? Unraveling strategic threads they had woven over decades. With a decisive breath, Lucy broke the silence, firming into the role she had begun to embrace. Let us plan for tonight. We owe it to ourselves to prepare, to be ready. But even as she uttered those words, a flicker of unease pricked at her. Could they truly face everything that was unreliable within their own lives? Or would the confrontation force them into corners they were terrified to inhabit? With a glance at Jenna and Mark, she swallowed down the rising apprehension, intent on being a steady force in the whirlwind of vulnerability spiraling toward them. Their journey was undoubtedly beginning to escalate into something much more complex, and Lucy would need to dig within to confront the shadows she had avoided for so long. As they leaned into planning, another message chimed again, the soft ping sending a jolt through the air. Lucy's heart raced as Jenna's eyes widened. Who was this new voice, and what impact would they bring to this fragile, unfolding narrative? The evening approached, and with it, the undeniable call to uncover truths, those they would unearth, and those yet to emerge from the shadows. The minutes dragged on like hours as anticipation coiled tightly within Lucy's chest. They immersed themselves in planning, but every detail felt like a facade. Jenna sat cross-legged on the floor, her phone clenched tightly in her hand. Mark paced nearby, occasionally tossing worried glances between the sisters. The room pulsed with unspoken fears and hidden resentments, steeped in the weight of impending confrontation. You okay, Jen? Lucy asked, her concern blossoming. Jenna fidgeted, her mask slipping for an instant. The vulnerability in her sister's eyes unearthed a buried tenderness, amplifying Lucy's determination. I don't know what to expect, Jenna admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. What if we're opening old wounds? What if we can't handle what she reveals? Holding Jenna's gaze, Lucy felt a dawning realization her sister mirrored her own fears. The tightly wound tension opened a window to Lucy's deeper understanding of their shared experience. It's possible we'll get hurt, she said, forcing calmness through her own tumult. But pain can teach us. Maybe it will empower us to reshape our future, rather than remain stuck in the stories of our past. Mark halted, absorbing her words. That is true. It's about confronting what we've kept hidden. His voice had solidified into a gentle strength, a promise to support, but the shadows of uncertainty still swirled. As the clock ticked menacingly toward their meeting time, Lucy's own dread simmered beneath a surface of reassuring words. She could feel the ghosts of past decisions creeping closer, their whispers echoing in the back of her mind, questioning her readiness to hold space for her sister's pain while revealing her own vulnerabilities. She turned to the window, letting the fading light filter in. The horizon gently sparkled with remnants of the day, an illusion of comfort in a moment occupied by stark realities. What if the revelation is something we never expected? What if the truth redefines us? Jenna's voice drew Lucy back into the present. I just want to be brave like you, her sister confessed, her vulnerability unmasking fragility. What if saying the wrong thing closes the door instead of opening it? You are already brave, Jenna. It's okay to be scared. The key is not letting that fear govern our actions. The fight within Lucy surged, ionizing her limbs with a conviction that eclipsed hesitation. So we go in and we stay honest. That means about how we feel too. Mark chimed in, a plan unfolding. The trio began piecing together their strategies, finding cohesion and transparency. They delineated boundaries for their conversation, penning out a map of emotional landscapes they dared to traverse. The hours melted away, consumed by lists and outlines, yet Lucy felt a gnawing doubt. Seated in their strategy, her focus shifted uneasily to Mark. What would happen if Jenna's truth engulfed her own fears? Would she fold under the weight? Or could she finally emerge empowered? Finally, the air turned electric as it thickened with unspoken confessions. They had to go. Lucy felt the uncertainty forming into something greater, a clarion call to transform anxiety into action. The decision to meet forged new paths for all of them, reshaping the contours of their futures. Just as they were about to leave, Jenna's phone chimed again. An apprehensive silence blanketed the room when Lucy glanced at the screen over her sister's shoulder. The message read, "Are you ready? It's time to talk." The simple text resonated unexpectedly like a punctuation mark on the approaching confrontation. With shaky breaths, Lucy felt the door of revelations crack open, a world of possibilities stretching before them, waiting to be navigated. As they stepped into the evening, Lucy couldn't help but wonder whether this was the door they needed to walk through, or the exit route from their constructed past, as they faced the uncertain horizon ahead. What awaited them was not only an exploration of the truth, but a reckoning, one that demanded confrontation with not just each other, but with themselves. And as they left the house, Lucy's mind raced with a question that haunted her. If truth could fracture their fragile fabric, what would it ultimately weave in its wake? As they sat in that dimly lit coffee shop, the tension was palpable. Lucy's heart paced rhythmically, matching the tapping of Jenna's fingers on the table. Each stroke resonated with both anticipation and uncertainty. The air was heavy with hidden emotions, threads of fear weaving into an intricate tapestry of unresolved conflict. Lucy took a deep breath, centering herself. The events of the previous days coursed through her mind, the revelations, confrontations, and the raw vulnerability that had emerged. This wasn't merely about family secrets anymore. It was her chance to redefine her narrative, one entangled with courage and clarity. She had spent years suppressing her voice, echoing Jenna's struggles, but tonight was different. Tonight, they would both reclaim their individuality. "Are you ready?" Jenna asked, her voice softening as she looked across the table at Lucy. "Ready as I'll ever be," Lucy replied, her voice steady, but the undercurrents of anxiety still bubbled beneath. "This isn't just about confronting your past, it's about shaping our future." Jenna nodded, a flicker of determination sparking in her gaze. A mixture of nerves and resolve settled comfortably. With every tick of the clock, Lucy felt more grounded, a sense of purpose filling the void where apprehension once thrived. She realized that Jenna needed her support, but more importantly, Lucy needed this moment to assert her own boundaries, to step into her authentic self. The door swung open, and a familiar face entered the cafe. Jenna's expression shifted from tentativeness to strained excitement. It was their father, and with him, the shadows of their history entered too. "Hey girls," he greeted, a jovial facade crumbling under the weight of apprehension. His presence triggered a visceral reaction within Lucy, a mixture of resentment and longing for a father who had been both protector and betrayer. "Let us cut to the chase, Dad," Jenna said, her voice gaining unexpected strength. The shift was monumental, a declaration to the universe that she was no longer confining herself to the sidelines of her own life. "We need to talk about the past. What's buried needs to come to light." Lucy's heart raced. Could Jenna's boldness carry through? Or would it be swallowed by old habits? Yet there was something liberating in Jenna's tone, a promise of transformation that rippled through the air. Their father's face paled, but the confidence exhibited by his daughters disarmed him. "Is this really necessary?" he asked, the bravado barely concealing his unease. "Yes, it is," Lucy interjected before Jenna could respond, her voice stronger and more assured than she had ever heard it. "The secrets have haunted us long enough. It's time for honesty." As they navigated through the layers of their family history, Lucy felt the burdens lifting. It wasn't just about unearthing past grievances. It was about rediscovering their collective strength and vulnerability. Each revelation brought them closer, unraveling the tightly woven deceit that had bound them in silence. Jenna eloquently voiced her feelings, recounting the fears, the misunderstandings, and the times she felt overshadowed. Her honesty, so raw and genuine, opened a window for their father to acknowledge his shortcomings. "I see now how my choices impacted you both," he finally admitted, vulnerability brushing the edges of his demeanor for the very first time. "I wanted to protect you, but in my efforts I muddied things more. Protecting us by hiding the truth doesn't work, Dad," Lucy challenged, emboldened by her sister's newfound assertiveness. "We deserve to own our narratives, not inherit someone else's confusion." That confrontation would mark a monumental shift not solely in their relationship, but within themselves. Jenna's voice had once mirrored insecurity, now it surged with conviction. Lucy, who had etched herself into the background for years, now stood tall. This was their reclamation, the definitive point of transformation, and resounding confidence. As the conversation shifted toward solutions rather than blame, they crafted a future that included healing sessions, open dialogues, and a commitment to share their struggles rather than shoulder them alone. In this pivotal moment, Lucy felt the remnants of fear dissolve, replaced by an exhilarating surge of self-worth. She had not only succeeded in confronting her family's issues, but also in unveiling her strength as an individual. By the time they left the coffee shop, the air felt lighter. For the first time, Lucy relished the sound of laughter, free from the shackles of unspoken words. "Thank you for being my rock," Jenna whispered as she linked arms with Lucy, a deep bond blooming between them. "I realized I needed this just as much as you did," Lucy replied, a quiet satisfaction weaving through her. They emerged into the vibrant night, stars flickering amid the dark canvas. Together, they embraced their new legacy, one marked by authenticity, honesty, and unwavering support. Not only had they done the hard work of relaying their truths, but they had also recaptured their sisterhood, revived their familial connections, and solidified their independence. As they walked away from the cafe, Lucy felt a renewed sense of confidence propelling her forward. She had achieved a profound transformation, one that reshaped her identity and forged a path toward authentic leadership in her family. This was only the beginning of something beautifully unexpected. So find your truth, step into your power, and ignite the spark of conversation that can transform your dynamics in unimaginable ways. Don't wait any longer. The journey to self-discovery and family connection awaits. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now because this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.